Captain Mara Trent had faced countless dangers during her career as a peacekeeper. Her reputation was built on calm under pressure and an unshakable belief in diplomacy. When the Galactic Council assigned her to mediate a delicate dispute in Datyef, the Vorax system, a region notorious for skirmishes, many hoped her presence would bring stability. Instead, her death ignited a chain of events that would shake the stars themselves. The Vorax system was a cluster of small, resource-rich planets with a volatile history. Several factions vied for control over valuable mining rights, and tensions simmered dangerously. The Galactic Council had long struggled to keep peace in the area, often sending observers and diplomats to prevent conflict. Mara's mission was clear: negotiate a ceasefire and lay the groundwork for lasting peace. She arrived aboard the Resolute, a sleek, heavily armored peacekeeper vessel designed for both diplomacy and defense. The ship's bridge was filled with her team, experienced officers and advisors, ready to support her efforts. Mara's confidence was evident as she reviewed the briefing holograms, mapping out potential negotiation points and risks. "Captain, the Vorax delegates are preparing to meet you in the central chamber," her communications officer reported. Mara nodded. "Let's make sure this meeting happens without incident. We're here to build trust." The conference hall was a grand structure, blending the harsh industrial design of the Vorax with touches of the Council's signature neutral architecture. Representatives from the rival factions stood on opposite sides, their expressions guarded and skeptical. Mara entered with measured calm. "I am Captain Mara Trent of Earth, here to help find a peaceful solution. We share a common goal, a future where your people can thrive without fear." For hours, the talks moved slowly. Old grievances and accusations filled the air, but Mara's steady voice kept the dialogue open. The factions agreed to continue discussions the next day, a small but vital step toward peace. Yet as the delegation dispersed, shadows moved unseen. Later that evening, Mara retired to her quarters aboard the Resolute. She reviewed the day's events with quiet satisfaction, unaware that danger lurked closer than she imagined. A sudden alarm blared through the ship. Red lights bathed the corridors as security teams scrambled. "Captain Trent, we have a breach in the lower decks," the chief of security reported over comms. "Intruders detected. We're locking down the ship." Mara grabbed her sidearm and moved quickly toward the source of the intrusion. As she rounded a corner, a flash of movement caught her eye too late. A silenced shot rang out. Mara collapsed, clutching her chest. The intruder vanished into the shadows. Within moments, her team secured the area. Medics rushed to her side, but the wound was fatal. Captain Mara Trent, Earth's peacekeeper and symbol of hope, had been slain. News of her assassination spread like wildfire. Earth's leaders convened in emergency session, grappling with grief and outrage. President Elena Vasquez addressed the Global Council, her voice steady but resolute. "Captain Trent's death is not just an attack on one of our own, it is an attack on peace itself. We will find those responsible and ensure justice." Across the galaxy, reactions varied. The Galactic Council urged calm, advocating for a thorough investigation and restraint. Yet many feared that the fragile peace that Mara had fought for would crumble. On Earth, citizens took to the streets, demanding action. Vigils were held to honor Mara's sacrifice, and the phrase, "For Mara, for peace," became a rallying cry. Meanwhile, intelligence agencies worked tirelessly to identify the assassin and uncover any conspirators. Initial evidence hinted at a shadowy faction known as the Kreshkar, an extremist group vehemently opposed to humanity's expanding influence. As reports surfaced of increased Kreshkar activity across several star systems, Earth's military prepared for the worst. Behind closed doors, government leaders debated their response. Some urged patience and diplomacy, fearing a galaxy-wide war. Others, fueled by anger and determination, demanded decisive action. The memory of Captain Mara Trent became a beacon, both a reminder of what was lost and a symbol of what humanity stood to protect. As Earth's fleets began mobilizing, a new chapter opened in humanity's history. The death of one peacekeeper had ignited a firestorm, a total war that would not only shape Earth's future, but shake the stars themselves. The halls of Earth's Global Council chamber buzzed with tension. Delegates from every nation and colony sat in heated debate, their faces reflecting the weight of the moment. The assassination of Captain Mara Trent had shattered the fragile peace humanity had fought so hard to maintain. Now the question was no longer if they would respond, but how. President Elena Vasquez stood at the podium, her voice steady but resolute. Captain Trent was more than a soldier. She was a symbol of humanity's commitment to peace, to dialogue. Her death is a direct attack on those values. We owe her more than words, we owe her justice. A murmur of agreement rippled through the chamber. Yet beneath the unity, fractures began to form. Ambassador Threx, a representative from the Galactic Council, addressed the assembly with cautious words. We understand Earth's grief, but we urge restraint. An investigation must proceed before any actions are taken. Escalation risks dragging the galaxy into unnecessary conflict. Earth's diplomats exchanged uneasy glances. The Council's insistence on patience felt like cold comfort to a populace demanding retribution. Outside, the streets of Earth thrummed with unrest. News feeds flooded with tributes to Mara Trent, and protests sprang up calling for immediate military action. For Mara, for justice, became the chant echoing through city squares from New Tokyo to New Cairo. In secret meetings, Earth's military leaders and political advisors debated their options. General Aaron Cade, commander of Earth's Space Defense Forces, argued forcefully. Waiting is no longer an option. We must show strength. The Kreshkar and their supporters will see hesitation as weakness. If we fail to act decisively, we risk losing everything. Others counseled caution. Diplomat Li Mei cautioned, war could engulf the entire galaxy. We must exhaust every diplomatic channel first. Our alliances, our colonies, they all depend on us acting wisely. The divide was clear, but the rising tide of public demand pushed the government toward a fateful decision. Meanwhile, intelligence agencies intensified their efforts. Operatives infiltrated Kreshkar networks, gathering fragments of information about their leadership and motives. The Kreshkar were revealed to be a fanatical group determined to curb humanity's influence at all costs, believing that humans upset the natural order of the galaxy. As investigations continued, unsettling reports arrived. Attacks on human colonies, sabotage of supply routes, and provocations in neutral systems. The Council's calls for peace seemed increasingly distant. Earth's diplomats attempted to bring the Council back to a united front, but divisions grew deeper. Some member species sympathized with the Kreshkar, fearing human expansion. Others feared the galaxy slipping into chaos. At a tense Council meeting broadcast across systems, Elena made a powerful statement. We came to this galaxy seeking peace. But peace demands justice. Captain Trent's death cannot be ignored. We call on the Council to stand with us, to condemn this act and bring its perpetrators to justice. If not, Earth will act in defense of its people. Her words hung in the chamber like a challenge. Days later, a message arrived from Earth's command centers. Earth was officially declaring a state of total war against all factions complicit in Captain Trent's assassination. The declaration sent shockwaves across the galaxy. Military forces worldwide mobilized rapidly. Ships that had been in dry dock were refitted and launched. Scientists accelerated the development of advanced weaponry and defense systems. Recruitment surged as civilians volunteered for service. Across colonies, the mood was a mix of determination and dread. The war that many had feared was now a reality. In a quiet moment, Elena reflected on the cost ahead. The decision weighed heavily on her, knowing that countless lives would be affected. Yet, the memory of Mara Trent, her courage, her sacrifice, fueled the conviction that Earth's response was just. From the shadows, enemies prepared their own moves. The Kreshkar leadership called for unity among their scattered cells, promising to bring humanity to its knees. As fleets moved into formation and star systems braced for conflict, the galaxy held its breath. The war sparked by a single bullet was no longer just Earth's fight. It was a battle for the future of all civilizations. The stars themselves would tremble. Earth's cities were alive with the hum of urgent preparation. From the towering spires of New Geneva to the sprawling orbital shipyards circling Mars, every available resource was marshaled for the coming conflict. The declaration of total war had shattered months of uneasy peace, and now the entire planet and beyond focused on one purpose: survival and victory. In the bustling command center of Earth's Space Defense Forces, General Aaron Cade stood before a massive holo map, his eyes scanning the positions of fleets, supply convoys, and enemy territories. Beside him, scientists and engineers discussed enhancements to weapon systems and defensive shields. "We must outmatch them at every turn," Cade said, voice firm. "Their hit-and-run tactics and guerrilla strikes require us to be faster, smarter, and stronger." The war had already shown the Kreshkar and their allies to be ruthless and cunning. Earth's intelligence operatives uncovered evidence that the extremist faction had infiltrated several key outposts, sabotaging communications and supply lines. The stakes were higher than ever. Meanwhile, in a lab deep within the orbital research complex, Dr. Arya Chen oversaw the testing of a new generation of energy weapons. Her team worked around the clock to refine plasma-based cannons capable of piercing enemy shields and faster propulsion drives to give Earth's ships an edge. Every breakthrough we make could mean the difference between life and death for our crews, Arya told her team. "We carry the hopes of every person back on Earth and across our colonies." Across the solar system, shipyards operated non-stop. The assembly lines produced sleek, agile fighters alongside massive capital, ships bristling with missile batteries and heavy turrets. Each vessel bore Earth's emblem, a symbol of unity and resilience. Training camps on Earth swelled as recruits from every walk of life volunteered. Among them was Lieutenant Raj Patel, a former pilot who had watched Captain Mara Trent's career with admiration. Now he was determined to honor her memory through action. "Peacekeepers fight with more than weapons," Raj told his squad during a briefing. "We fight for what's right: freedom, justice, and a future worth living." Yet the war machine was not just about brute force. Earth's diplomats continued their efforts to build alliances with sympathetic alien species. Messages of solidarity arrived from the Varathi, the Solari, and other races who had once been wary but now saw humanity's cause as vital. Ambassador Lyra Katan, a Varathi liaison, met with Earth's council members in a glass-walled chamber overlooking Earth's glowing cities. "We stand with you," she declared. "The Kreshkar threaten the balance for all. Together, we can protect the galaxy's future." Still, not all were convinced. Within Earth's own government, voices of caution and opposition rose. Some argued that the war's cost, economic, social, and moral, was too high. Others warned that total war could alienate neutral systems and cause widespread devastation. President Elena Vasquez faced the impossible task of balancing these concerns. During a broadcast to Earth's population, she addressed the gravity of their situation. "We are on a path none of us chose willingly, but our unity and resolve will see us through. We remember Captain Mara Trent, and we carry forward her vision of a just galaxy." As the fleets prepared to launch, covert intelligence operatives received disturbing news. A faction within the Galactic Council was secretly working against Earth, hoping to keep the war alive to maintain their own power. This revelation added another layer of complexity to the conflict. Earth's leaders knew that victory would require more than military might. It would demand courage, strategy, and alliances forged in trust. In the quiet moments before deployment, Captain Raj Patel gazed at the stars from his quarters. The vastness of space seemed to hum with unseen threats and possibilities. "For Mara," he whispered, "for Earth, for peace." The war had begun in earnest, and the galaxy braced for the storm that would soon rage across its many worlds. The silence of space was shattered by the sudden eruption of laser fire and missile trails as Earth's fleet surged forward, crossing the threshold from preparation to action. Years of planning, months of tension, and the memory of Captain Mara Trent's assassination fueled the urgency. Now, with calculated precision, Earth's forces launched their first major strike against the Kreshkar stronghold orbiting the planet Kravos. Admiral Celine Vega commanded the Vanguard, the flagship of Earth's battle group. Her eyes flicked between the tactical display and the shimmering stars beyond the viewport. "This is the moment we prove that humanity is not to be underestimated," she told her crew, voice steady and fierce. "Engage all systems. Prepare to strike." Kravos was a bleak world, scarred by previous conflicts, its orbit controlled by a network of fortified space stations and hidden bases that the Kreshkar had transformed into bastions of resistance. The target was a key supply hub, vital to their operations and symbolic of their defiance. As the first wave of fighters darted into the chaos, Earth's capital ships unleashed a barrage of plasma cannon fire. Shields on enemy stations flickered under the relentless assault, while human pilots executed daring maneuvers, weaving through enemy fire to deliver precise strikes. Lieutenant Raj Patel led a squadron of interceptors, cutting through Kreshkar, fighters with swift efficiency. His heart pounded with a mix of adrenaline and determination. Each victory brought him closer to avenging Mara Trent and protecting his home. However, the battle was far from one-sided. The Kreshkar defenders fought with desperate ferocity, their knowledge of the terrain and guerrilla tactics making every inch costly. Hidden missile batteries launched surprise attacks, and cloaked ships struck from the shadows. On the Vanguard's bridge, alarms blared as a wave of enemy fighters slipped through Earth's defensive perimeter. Admiral Vega didn't flinch. "Deploy drone swarms and redirect energy to forward shields," she ordered. "We hold the line." The battle raged for hours, the void illuminated by bursts of energy and debris. Earth's forces slowly gained ground, but the cost was clear. Several ships were lost and casualties mounted. Reports arrived of collateral damage to nearby neutral satellites, complicating political fallout. Back on Earth, news of the strike was met with mixed emotions. The public cheered the victory, but feared the growing scale of the conflict. Peace rallies gave way to war readiness, and families said painful goodbyes to those called to serve. In the midst of battle, a surprising message cut through the chaos. Transmission from a neutral system offering support to Earth's cause. The Varathi, impressed by the strike's resolve and fearing Kreshkar expansion, pledged military aid. It was a turning point, but not all responses were favorable. Several neutral factions condemned Earth's aggression, accusing them of destabilizing the galaxy. The Galactic Council held emergency sessions, but internal divisions prevented unified condemnation. Within Earth's leadership, doubts surfaced about the war's direction. Diplomat Li Mei urged caution in a tense briefing. "We must ensure our actions don't push more systems into the Kreshkar's arms. This war must be fought with strategy and heart, not just force." Yet, General Cade remained resolute. "We cannot afford hesitation. Every day we wait, the enemy grows stronger." Amidst these debates, Earth's intelligence agencies intercepted, chatter suggesting an even larger Kreshkar fleet was assembling beyond the edge of explored space. The stakes were rising. As the dust settled around Kravos, Captain Raj Patel reflected on the cost of victory. The sky was darker now, and the war had begun to reshape the galaxy's future. Yet the spirit of humanity burned brighter than ever. First, blood, he whispered to his squad. And the fight has only just begun. The victory at Kravos had sent ripples through the galaxy, some of hope, others of fear. As Earth's fleets repaired and regrouped, new messages arrived, surprising everyone. Several alien species were stepping forward, pledging support to humanity's cause. The war was no longer just Earth's fight. It was beginning to unite unlikely allies against a common enemy. Ambassador Lyra Katan of the Varathi was among the first to arrive at Earth's diplomatic headquarters. The Varathi were a proud and secretive species, known for their advanced technology and rigid isolationism. Yet now, their leader spoke with conviction. The Kreshkar threaten not only humanity but the balance of power in the galaxy, Lyra said, her voice calm but firm. We have observed Earth's commitment to peace, and we believe it is time to stand together. Her arrival was followed by envoys from the Solari, an ancient race of solar harvesters, and the Aelari, known for their telepathic abilities and vast knowledge of the stars. Each brought unique resources and expertise. In the great conference hall, Earth's leaders listened carefully. President Elena Vasquez addressed the gathering. Your trust and support mean more than words can express. Together, we form a coalition not just of arms, but of shared values, peace, justice, and the hope for a better future. Despite these new alliances, the war's toll was evident. Inside Earth's War Council chambers, voices grew heated. Some argued that the coalition was fragile, that too many factions with differing agendas could lead to internal conflict. General Aaron Cade dismissed such worries. Our strength lies in diversity. The Kreshkar cannot withstand a united front. We must train, coordinate, and fight as one. But challenges remained. Communications between allied fleets were complicated by cultural differences and unfamiliar technology. Joint operations required patience and adaptation. On the front lines, Captain Raj Patel found himself leading a mixed squadron of human and Varathi pilots. Trust had to be earned quickly. During a patrol near the contested region of Epsilon Prime, their squadron encountered a sudden ambush. The Kreshkar deployed stealth ships, attempting to isolate and overwhelm. Raj's heart raced as he coordinated with his Varathi wingmate, Kalar. Keep tight formation, Raj called out. We cover each other's blind spots. Kalar responded with precise maneuvers, their ships weaving through the enemy's attacks. Together they turned the tide, destroying the ambushers and securing the sector. After the battle, Raj felt the weight of what they had achieved. Not just a tactical victory, but the forging of trust across species lines. Back on Earth, however, the war's strain was showing in other ways. Rumors of dissent within the military and political ranks began to surface. Some questioned whether Earth's aggressive stance risked turning more systems against them. Others feared the human spirit might fracture under the pressure. In a confidential briefing, diplomat Li Mei warned, "We must balance strength with diplomacy. Our enemies exploit our divisions. Unity is our greatest weapon." Simultaneously, intelligence reports revealed troubling news. The Kreshkar had begun recruiting mercenaries from fringe systems, promising power and revenge. The galaxy's darkest corners were stirring. Among Earth's scientists, Dr. Arya Chen worked feverishly to develop new defensive technologies that could protect Allied fleets from these unpredictable threats. Her team's breakthrough, a layered shield capable of adapting to different energy weapons, showed promise. Yet no technology could replace the courage of those on the battlefield. In a quiet moment aboard the Resolute, Raj Patel received a message from his squadron. They were weary but determined. The memory of Mara Trent inspired them still, reminding them that behind every battle was a chance to secure peace. The war's tide was shifting, but the road ahead was uncertain. As Earth and its allies prepared for their next move, the galaxy watched closely, waiting to see if this fragile coalition could withstand the storm, or if the war would consume them all. The fragile alliance Earth had forged now faced its greatest test, not from the Kreshkar, on the battlefield, but from within its own ranks. The war had drawn together diverse species, cultures, and ambitions. But beneath the surface, old rivalries simmered, and not everyone shared the vision of unity. Whispered doubts grew louder, and in the shadows of coalition halls, conspiracies began to take root. On Earth's capital, a secure meeting room was filled with tense faces. President Elena Vasquez sat at the head of the table, flanked by General Aaron Cade, Ambassador Lyra Catan, and several key advisors. Reports had come in, encrypted transmissions suggesting that a faction within the coalition sought to undermine Earth's leadership. "We cannot allow division to tear us apart," Elena said, her voice low but commanding. "We face enemies at our borders and traitors within our midst." Lyra's eyes narrowed. "Some believe Earth's rise threatens their own influence. The Kreshkar's reach may be wide, but so too are the fractures among us." General Cade slammed his fist on the table. "If we don't root out these conspirators, we risk losing the war before it's truly begun." Meanwhile, in a shadowy corridor deep beneath the coalition's headquarters, a secret meeting was underway. A group of influential figures, discontented leaders from various factions, plotted quietly. Their motives varied: fear of Earth's growing power, distrust of the war's direction, or hope to broker peace on their own terms. Among them was Counselor Varnus, a former ally turned skeptic. "Earth's total war has cost us allies. We must find another way, or the galaxy will burn." His words carried weight. The coalition's fragile balance depended on trust, and now that trust was cracking. Back on the front lines, Captain Raj Patel sensed the tension. In recent missions, coordination had faltered. Allied ships hesitated at critical moments, and information leaks slowed operations. During a patrol near the contested world of Zephora, Raj's squadron came under sudden attack, not from the Kreshkar, but from an unknown force with advanced technology suspiciously similar to Earth's own. The attackers vanished before full engagement, leaving behind questions and unease, Raj reported immediately. "If we're being targeted by someone within our coalition, it changes everything." At Earth's Intelligence Center, analysts worked tirelessly to trace the source of the attack. The evidence pointed to a covert faction using stolen technology. Raising fears of sabotage and espionage, President Vasquez convened a security summit. "We must strengthen our defenses, not just against the enemy outside, but against betrayal inside. The survival of our coalition depends on unity and vigilance." She authorized the formation of an internal security task force, combining the sharpest minds and most loyal agents from all allied species. Their mission: to identify and neutralize threats from within. As investigations unfolded, a startling revelation emerged. One of Earth's own senior officers, a trusted advisor, was implicated in passing information to the conspirators. The betrayal stung deeply. Elena faced the painful decision to remove the officer quietly, fearing that public exposure would damage morale. It was a reminder that the war was not only fought with weapons, but with careful diplomacy and sometimes harsh sacrifice. In the quiet moments, Captain Raj Patel thought of Mara Trent. Her death had sparked this conflict, but now the battle was more complex than anyone had imagined. "We fight not just the enemy outside, but the darkness within," he reflected during a brief respite. The coalition tightened its grip on the war effort, launching counter-operations to disrupt conspirator networks and restore trust among allies. It was a slow, arduous process. In the war rooms, new strategies formed, plans that required coordination on a scale never attempted before. The stakes were higher than ever, and failure meant chaos. The shadows of betrayal loomed large, but so did the determination to overcome them. As Earth's fleets prepared for the next offensive, the message was clear. Victory would demand more than firepower. It would require unwavering faith in each other, or all would be lost. The war's tides shifted once again. In the galaxy's darkest hours, the greatest battle was for the very soul of the coalition. The war had reached a delicate tipping point. After months of brutal battles and uneasy diplomacy, Earth and its allies stood stronger than before, but still far from peace. Just when the coalition began to regain confidence after rooting out. Internal betrayal, a breakthrough from Earth's intelligence division, shifted everything. It came quietly, as most critical discoveries do. Deep within the encrypted data harvested from the intercepted transmission networks, a pattern emerged. Names, meeting logs, and hidden communications pointing not only to the Kreshkar, but to a deeper and more disturbing truth. The assassination of Captain Mara Trent had not been ordered by the Kreshkar alone. The data pointed to a rogue faction within the Galactic Council itself. In a secure chamber beneath Earth's Central, Command, President Elena Vasquez, General Cade, and Chief Analyst Riva Morel examined the evidence. Riva's fingers flew across the console, cycling through intercepted conversations. Her expression was grim. 3 high-ranking council members, Councillor Varnus among them, coordinated the operation, she said. They knew Mara's death would provoke war. That was the plan. Cade leaned forward. They didn't just want to stop Earth. They wanted to break the Council, fracture the alliances, and keep control through chaos. Elena's voice was quiet. So they engineered a galactic war for power. There was silence. Mara Trent had died not because of diplomatic failure, not because of Kreshkar aggression alone, but because a hidden hand had pulled the strings, deliberately, methodically. The implications were staggering. Earth's leadership debated next steps. They couldn't reveal the truth without shaking the entire galactic structure. If the Council was compromised, then who could be trusted? And if they kept the truth hidden, would they be any better than the conspirators themselves? Back aboard. The Resolute, Captain Raj Patel received a brief but urgent message from Command. The truth about Mara Trent's death had been discovered, and it went far deeper than anyone had believed. He replayed the transmission in private, disbelief turning to fury. They started all this. They turned peace into war for politics. But there was no time to dwell. Earth's intelligence teams had also discovered that the rogue Council faction was preparing a final move. A large-scale offensive using Kreshkar loyalists and hired mercenaries to strike at the Coalition's heart, an allied station known as Unity Spire, where representatives from over 40 systems had gathered to draft a post-war treaty. Unity Spire wasn't just symbolic. If it fell, the alliance would crumble. President Vasquez immediately ordered a joint task force to intercept the incoming fleet and defend the station. Earth's forces would lead the charge, joined by Varathi war cruisers, Solari sentry drones, and Alari tactical ships. It was to be the largest combined fleet in Coalition history. On the bridge of the Vanguard, Admiral Selene Vega addressed her fleet. We know the truth. We know who lit this fire. But today, we defend something greater than revenge. We protect the future they tried to steal. Meanwhile, on Unity Spire, Ambassador Lyra Catan rallied diplomats and security forces to stand ready. This station will not fall. It is the heart of a new order, and the stars will remember this day. As the enemy fleet emerged from hyperspace, the battle began. Captain Raj Patel's fighter squadron soared through the chaos, cutting down enemy interceptors and shielding vital transport lanes. The coordination between species, once awkward and slow, now moved like a single rhythm. Humanity and its allies had learned to fight as one. Kreshkar warships surged forward, but Earth's dreadnoughts met them head-on. Solari solar beam arrays lanced through the void, disabling enemy flagships. The Varathi deployed adaptive energy fields that absorbed and reflected enemy fire. The tide slowly turned. Hours passed. The enemy broke formation. The final ships fled or were captured. Unity Spire stood intact. In the aftermath, Earth presented its evidence to the full Galactic Council. The truth about the rogue faction spread quickly, and the 3 conspirators were placed under arrest by their own people. There was outrage. There was sorrow. But there was also hope. Captain Mara Trent's name was cleared. The war had not been her failure. It had been her final mission, and her legacy was a galaxy closer to unity. As Captain Raj Patel watched the stars outside his ship, he felt something shift, like the universe had been holding its breath and was finally exhaling. The war wasn't over yet. But now, at last, peace seemed possible. 3 weeks after the Battle of Unity Spire, the galaxy was quieter. Not silent, but different. The space once filled with weapons and warnings was now filled with cautious messages of cooperation. Debris, fields still drifted near the old battle sites, and fleets remained on alert, but the rhythm of war had slowed. Earth's ships returned to dock, their hulls scarred, but their banners unbroken. Repairs began. So did reflection. In a bright chamber overlooking Earth's blue horizon, President Elena Vasquez addressed a gathering unlike any in human history. Representatives from dozens of species stood shoulder to shoulder, many wearing symbols of peace or mourning bands for those lost. Unity Spire had not fallen, and now it would serve as the foundation for a lasting alliance. "We did not ask for this war," Elena began, her voice echoing through the chamber. "But when the call came, humanity stood firm, and more importantly, we did not stand alone." She paused, glancing at the seat left empty at the center of the chamber. A small silver plaque was affixed to the back. "In honor of Captain Mara Trent, peacekeeper, diplomat, and symbol of unity." "Her death could have broken us," Elena continued. "Instead, it reminded us what we fight for, not domination, not revenge, but the right to live in peace, with dignity and freedom." Applause followed. Not thunderous, but solemn and true. The Galactic Council, now purged of those who had conspired to ignite the war, voted overwhelmingly to formalize the Galactic Accord, a new interspecies pact built on shared security, open diplomacy, and mutual defense. Earth was offered a founding seat, an offer it accepted with humility and resolve. Back on Mars, Captain Raj Patel stood outside a memorial garden built by survivors and soldiers. Rows of silver leaves, each etched with a name, swayed in the artificial breeze. Among them was Mara Trent's, gleaming in the pale sunlight. Raj knelt, tracing her name with his fingers. "You never fired a shot," he said softly, "but you won the first battle. You gave us something to believe in." A new chapter had begun. In the months that followed, Earth focused on rebuilding. War factories shifted to peaceful industry. Starship engineers turned their skills to exploration and science, and former soldiers began leading reconciliation efforts across damaged systems. Dr. Arya Chen, once the architect of Earth's wartime shield tech, now headed a project to develop long-range communication networks for the Accord, an effort to ensure misunderstandings would never again spiral into destruction. Ambassador Lyra Katan returned to Varathi space with an honor rarely given to outsiders. She had fought not just for her own kind, but for all. The Kreshkar, broken and scattered, lost their central command. Some remnants continued to resist, but without backing from the Rogue Council faction or their supply lines, they faded into smaller, fragmented groups. Where possible, they were offered peace. Not all accepted, but some did. The galaxy would never return to what it was before. Too much had changed. Too much had been learned. Captain Raj Patel, now promoted and offered a leadership role in the Accord's defense forces, chose a quieter path. He declined the position, instead requesting to serve as a peacekeeper, following in Mara Trent's footsteps. He stood again on the bridge of the Resolute, which had been refitted for diplomatic missions. This ship was built for war, he said during its relaunch, but it's going to carry peace. As the Resolute moved beyond Earth's orbit toward a distant sector in need of mediation, Raj allowed himself a rare moment of calm. The galaxy still held danger, always would, but it also held something more powerful than fear: hope. The stars, once shaken by war, now shimmered with possibility, and as Earth's light reached farther than it ever had, it carried with it the memory of a fallen peacekeeper. And the legacy of a united galaxy forged in fire, but built to endure. The end.